I live in Sydney, Australia, in a pretty dodgy neighborhood, so I'm quite used to creepy and not so very nice people. But this experience is the worst I've ever had. My house backs into a park with quite a few trees, but they're spaced out so it's not like bushland. It's a nice park with a walkway, and all the houses in my street line up against it, making sort of a long wall of house backyard fences, if that makes any sense. It's because of this that I have a very small backyard. I was just about to go to bed and had finished locking my front door and all the windows. All I had to do was lock the back door, but before I did, I decided to open it and have a look outside, just to check the weather and see if my two cats were lying around. I was looking around when a faint flicker of light from one of the other treetops caught my eye. It was weird, considering there are no lights in the park, and I got worried there might be a fire starting. I decided to take a closer look, but as soon as I stepped outside, the now clearly visible flame vanished. I was certain it was from a lighter. Someone had climbed up the tree and was either lighting a cigarette or was trying to start a fire. This scared the living shit out of me because if he was just lighting a cigarette, that meant he was spying on all the houses, and he had seen me in my pajamas, and if he was starting a fire, the whole park could go up in flames. And the houses too. Australia in the summer can be very dangerous, and bushfires damage homes, wildlife, and nature, and they kill so many people. I ran inside and slammed my door. My father then yelled at me for making such a loud noise and waking him up. I apologized, but I didn't tell him what was going on just in case I was being overly paranoid. I continued to stand with the back door shut and locked, but watched to see what the man was doing. I saw the lighter once more, and the end of a cigarette lit up. He was smoking. I could now see my cat was staring at him too, and her fur was all puffed up. I didn't want him to hurt her, along with the fact that in my area, many animals and humans are killed and harmed by people whacked out on drugs, so I decided to go outside and fetch her. I sprinted outside and picked up my cat. As I was almost inside, I turned to see what the man was doing. I could see the whites of his eyes. He was staring right at me. I froze for a moment and then started to go back into the house quickly and quietly. But before I could even get my body halfway through the door, the man lunged out of the tree and onto my back fence. He threw the cigarette at my other cat, who now climbed off a flower pot and was hissing. He missed and my cat is fine. I ran inside and locked the door, and the man proceeded to jump in my backyard and bolt for my cat. Luckily, the cat ran through the door, and my other cat was still in my arms. I put a large heavy box in front of the cat door to block it. I had once again woken up my dad for being so noisy. He came out yelling at me and told me to go back to my room and shut up as he had to work early in the morning. I softly apologized, as all I could manage was a small squeak from being so scared, and I didn't want to piss him off any further. I told him to look out back, but not to open the door. He looked at me like I was insane, probably thinking there was some kind of small rodent outside that had frightened me or attacked the cats. He made an annoyed groan and went to have a look. As soon as he looked outside, he froze. Without looking at me, he told me to call the police and see if I can get my neighbors, one being a cop and the other being a terrifying large Fijian man who could kill somebody with his bare hands. I called the cops while sprinting to my neighbors' houses and telling them what was happening. When I came back, my dad was yelling at the guy and telling him to get out before the cops came, or before my dad decided to kill him himself. Now just some quick info on my dad. He's a scary, tall, muscular, ex-army man. Nobody messes with him. But this guy, this insane man, just stared him down and pulled a knife from his boot and started cutting my screen door, making the hole trying to get through. My screen door has bars on it, and the man couldn't fit through them. Yet there was half his body sticking through the hole trapped by the bars trying to open the glass sliding door. He started yelling at my father about how he'd never see me again, and all the awful things he and his friends would do to me. By this point, the cop neighbor had gotten into the park with his large German Shepherd and his taser, and was planning on jumping over the fence and ambushing the guy. Just as he was about to do this, the police I called for arrived and barged past my father proceeded to tell the man to step away from the door and drop his knife. The man turned away and tried to bolt, but before he could, my neighbor's dog tackled him to the ground and bit him, allowing the cops to arrest the guy. They put him into the car and he just kept staring at me the whole time, never taking his eyes off me. I just felt so violated and vulnerable. They took our statements, and that's it. He's in police custody and we're waiting to see what will happen next. My dad told me that when he looked around the first time, he saw the man trying to look through our windows with his pants on the ground. He could have possibly been taking a whiz, or well, the other obvious thing.